Chris and together. I really hope that you all had a wonderful 2022 with great lessons to learn from the downs, and hope that we could really strive and enjoy the ups that we had of the year. I really pray that for all of us, we can have a much better 2023 going forward. I really pray you can join us here for the service as Eli will give us the first service of 2023. I'll offer this prayer now, and all of our names here, and in my name, Danny McCann, Central West Family, Jude. Yeah. And then our next song then is the Father's Dwelling Place. Very good. It's not better than the first one. Class. So yeah, then the next thing now, I'll invite Samuel up to do the readings for today's service.
McCann number 3. Individual embodiments of truth. are discrete manifestations of the dual characteristics of God. Therefore, they can be distinguished broadly into two classes.
You just read it from there, don't worry about it.
Yeah, it was just that other thing you can read it online.
We can listen to you.
Therefore, they can be distinguished broadly into two classes. Those of yang qualities which resemble the original internal nature and masculinity of God, and those of yin qualities which resemble the original external form and femininity of God. Although individual embodiments of truth belong to either of these two classes, since they're all substantial object partners to God, resembling his original internal nature and external form, they each possess within themselves both internal nature and external form, but likewise both yang and yin. And that reading came from page 20 of the Divine. Second reading. Suppose there is a perfect machine. If the parts of the machine are only of their kind in the whole world, and can neither be obtained nor made
This paper here, I just said.
corresponding to that of the whole machine, however trivial that part may be, because without it, the whole machine would not operate. Likewise, the individuality of a perfected man is so unique. So however unimportant he may seem, he in fact corresponds to the whole macrocosm in terms of his value. And that reading came from page 165 of the Divine Text.
Thanks so much. Okay, on for the main event. The man who is veteran of People Services. Sure, we all quite familiar with him. We brought him up for the first service of 2023, Eli Loew.
Thank you, Daniel, for giving that introduction. Sometimes I worry that people being so familiar with me means that I keep saying the same things. People are getting used to it. So yeah, I want to start by welcoming everyone to 2023. A good year so far. So let's see how we get on. Yeah, so I want to start by saying, when it comes to New Year, people know that I'm a very big promoter of reflecting, right, and reflections, right, and I talk about it a lot. And New Year's is really my big one, where I like sit down and I, ask Vicky to take care of the kids for at least an hour, and I go and I buy myself some breakfast, we go to lunch, and I just sit down with my journal and I write out a reflection. Like I take the time to really write my thoughts on the year and kind of what I'm thinking and where I'm at. And usually it's kind of closer to the end of January. And that's kind of also one of my solutions, because I don't like to write them on the 1st of January. It's too cliche. I remember Alan was giving the service about the problem with New Year's resolutions, right? And my solution to that was to try to do it in February. Trying to start in February, and then I'm the only one in the gym that's there just New resolutions, right? But I'm still on my mark, so it doesn't. So he was talking, Alan made the point about self-image, and I'm skeptical, but maybe that's a way to take it. So I'll test that out, right? Give it a try. But no, it's really reflecting is really a way. I think it's a very healthy habit that we develop. And I think even last night, the guys were here for the retreat, you guys had a reflection time. And I think, I've said it before, I think we often take it for granted that we kind of sit down and we make this habit and tradition of writing reflection, thinking about reflections. And I always find it very healthy. It's something I try to do, have always done since that time when I stopped going to workshops and stopped doing it as part of like a program. Like it's something I wanted to do myself. I'm kind of curious if, just as a show of hands, because I know I talk about it a lot and I promote it as a healthy thing to do, but how many people, just quickly, no judgment, do a reflection on your own, take the time to actually kind of sit down and write a reflection every now and then?
Writing down?
Yeah, I think writing is, or sit down for like, half an hour and I guess meditate would be equivalent, right? Right, so that's good. That's kind of roughly what I expected. And so, yeah, so I don't want to give another reflection service. So actually what I wanted to talk about is kind of my starting point was kind of talking about reflection. But what I wanted to kind of dive into a bit was the readings that we just did from the principle. Because they're kind of a core part of my own personal faith. And I know it's the first one there about individual embodiments of truth. We have this term that's kind of a translation of a Korean term. But that term is something I always, if you break it down, the message that I get from that I feel is very powerful and very kind of inspiring for me, is the idea that everything is a reflection of God, right? That's the idea of an individual embodiment of truth. Like every element in the world, every created thing is a reflection of some part of God, especially people. And that's kind of the second half of that message, is that you have all the things in the world, all the material things, all the living things, and then you have people as the real reflection of God, the embodiment of God, right? And in a way that's real, that's what's true, is that all of us are this kind of manifestation of truth and reality. And that's actually in its own quite a powerful message, that the other way I interpret is that we all matter. Everything matters, right? Every piece of the creation, every tree, no matter how long or short something may live in the world, it plays a part, it's important, and it's unique. Each element is slightly different, each element is special. And then that really comes into the second part, which is the value that people have and that everything has. And then you have that analogy in that second reading. And I was looking for it and I couldn't find it because I was reading through the chapter 1 where I thought it would be. Turns out it's just some analogy they put in chapter 7 with Christology, right? But for me, it's such an important analogy about this idea of a machine, right? That only has one part. It's like somewhat like a handmade machine that each part is handmade. So each part of the machine is just as valuable as the entire machine. If you lose one part, you've lost the whole thing, right? And that's an analogy for our value as people, that each of us actually are as valuable as the entire universe, right? And one question that I'm kind of always reflecting on and kind of asking myself is this question of, what makes me unique, right? It's kind of the question you ask when you're younger, who am I? What's my purpose? Why am I here? Once you come up with an answer for that, you don't want to be asking yourself that too much. Once you grow up and you kind of have a purpose and a focus, it's good to stick with it. But it's also a question that I still, it's kind of the evolution of that question, right? Not who am I per se, but what is it about me that is unique, that makes me different from everyone else? That's the value that I can add to this world and to the people around me. And so, the key takeaway from those readings and from my own faith is that everything has infinite value, right? And specifically, even in that analogy, the quote says, no matter how unimportant a person may be, they have the value of the whole universe, right? And so the title that I wanted to give to this service was The Divine Spark. And what I mean by that is when we're looking at ourselves and we're trying to understand ourselves, and when we're reflecting and trying to become better people, I think it's very, very essential for us to connect that search to this idea that each of us has this divine spark inside of us, right? That we're not just some random existence. We're not just trying to figure out who we are based on you know, our relationship with our parents and our friends, and as defined by, you know, the culture we're part of and the environment around us. But that underneath all of that, and all the experiences we've had, the ups and downs, underneath all of that, there's a part of us that directly comes from God, right? That divine spark that is really what makes us unique and makes us valuable, and not just a little bit valuable or, you know, kind of valuable, but infinite, right? That we are that irreplaceable part of the universe, right? And, you know, the reason I believe it's so important to find that, and to really believe it, and to really find that in ourselves, is that it, you know, it really gives us the confidence to understand our value. And of course, then the next challenge is then to be able to see that in everyone else. So it's not just the divine spark in ourselves, but if we recognize that we have this divine spark, that we're not just collections of cells and organs and matter and energy, but that we have purpose and meaning and value, then already we can see that, well, then if that's true for us, well, then that's true for the person I'm talking to, the person I'm meeting, the person I am interacting with, the person that's really annoying me, right? The person that I actually don't like very much, but they also have that divine spark. And so, you know, I feel like that's really a cornerstone of a life of faith. You know, when we talk about faith, when we talk about living a religious lifestyle, we're talking about understanding that we are divine beings, right? And that actually everyone else is divine beings. And that's not an automatic thing to realize or believe. You know, a lot of people, they don't believe they have value, or they can't feel that value in themselves. But that's why I think it's important that we find it ourselves first, and then help show others their divine value, their value to the world. Because when you feel that, you have such an amount of kind of reassurance and confidence, right? When you know that you are valuable, then that kind of changes your whole attitude, your whole perspective, changes how you interact with other people, because you also know they are valuable. And it's quite a powerful way to think, way to act, and way to live. And it's not just a kind of feel-good message, right? It's not just, you know, you're valuable, so you can feel good, and you can, you know, you can be confident, and you can accomplish things. But actually, I think we all need to understand that we're valuable in order to actually deal with the reality of the world. And so, you know, there's a lot of people that say, oh, you're valuable, you can accomplish anything, you can be successful. There's a lot of kind of what I call online gurus, right? Promoting different kind of attitude changes and ways to think. But they tend to center on, you know, yeah, focus on yourself and be confident, and you can accomplish anything, right? That's kind of the summary. But I think the balance to that is actually, there are a lot of trauma and challenges, and you need to have that awareness of your divine spark to be able to address them, to overcome them, right? We do everything we can to kind of push away the real kind of trauma of the world, and we should, like, it's very, but it's not very far. It's not very far. It doesn't take a lot of research. In fact, I always encourage people to take a little bit of time to understand the world situation, to understand how people live in more difficult situations, because that's the reality of the world, right? That's the actual true state of the world. So in order for us to actually have the strength to address them, to be able to really deal with the most difficult realities of the world, we need almost divine strength, not divine intervention, because it has to come from our side, but the divine strength, the divine spark that we have inside each of us. So, so it's in a way, it's a necessity. If we really want to live as those unique embodiments of truth, to use that very clunky terminology, if we really want to be true people, we need to have that divine understanding, because we need that strength to be able to then help other people, to help address the actual challenges that we ourselves will go through and that other people are going through. So the kind of core message I wanted to share today, and to kind of sum up the service, is I really encourage everyone to find that strength inside of you for 2020. Right? Take the time to reflect, take at least an hour to kind of write out whatever it is, the good, the bad, and the ugly. But really try to find that divine strength and value inside yourself. And if you can find that, and if you have that strength, then try to use it to lift up one other person, right? Not just your friends and family, but someone who actually is maybe outside that circle, that maybe you have a hard time with, or someone that you really just don't agree with, or someone that you feel is really kind of in a difficult situation, because it's the only way things change, right? So every year we have this, and I really want to end on a high note because it's the first day of the year. Like I said, it's been a great year so far. And the point is that, I think we always underestimate how much we can do and how valuable we are. Even if we're a little overconfident, even if other people might think we're arrogant, there's still a part of us that really doubts ourselves and is insecure. Huh? See, this is what I mean, insecurity. But the point is that, even if we're confident, even if we have, this self-confidence, I think we still underestimate what we can do. Because oftentimes that self-confidence is based on kind of our realistic, fair evaluation of our kind of own skills. And it's missing the strength of kind of God's will, right? It's missing the kind of, the next step that we're all kind of hopefully looking for and trying to accomplish, right? Because if we believe in God, it always comes down to, we must believe God really wants the world to change. He really wants what's best for not just us, but for everyone. And I believe if we tap into that, if we live according to that strong desire, that's what really unlocks kind of the doors in our own lives and the doors in other people's lives. So yeah, the summary is, we are divine beings, and that's a really powerful thing if you can really believe it, and not just believe it, but understand it and live according to it. Right? That it's, yes, we see a lot of our own shortcomings. I think we're our own harshest judges and critics. We're also blind to our own faults, so it's kind of a funny balance. Yeah. But we can do a lot more than we think. And I think if 2023 is the year that we kind of can discover that and push past it, then it'll be an even greater year than it would be otherwise. So on that note, I'll finish my service. If everyone can join me in prayer. Our dear, beloved, and precious Heavenly Parent, we're starting 2023 together here as brothers and sisters, as an extended family. And as always, we really want to start with a grateful heart for all the blessings that we have in our lives, all the love and care, friendships, and family that really make life enjoyable, wonderful. We know every person in this room, every person watching on Zoom. We always have our challenges and our struggles. So I pray that in this year, throughout 2023, we can start to overcome those. Our lives can become more fulfilling, more wonderful, more full of love. And that as we kind of continue to come together on Sundays as a community and then continue to live our lives day to day, that we can start to make each day more enriching, more fulfilling, and more capable of lifting up the people around us and the people who are still looking for your will, looking for sense of meaning and love. So after the service now, we're gonna share a meal together as we try to do to start every year, and pray that we can just enjoy each other's company over a good meal, and that your presence can be there with us. You can also feel that joy and feel that fellowship. So I pray that this year, 2023, can truly be a year of spiritual growth and awakening, be a year where the positives really outweigh the negatives. And we can see an actual substantial difference, not just in our own lives, but in the lives of the people throughout Ireland and throughout Europe and throughout this. And I report this with a very grateful heart on behalf of the brothers and sisters here and in my name. Young Il and Vicky Loew, bless Central Jew. Okay. On that note, I'll welcome Daniel McCann back up to finish off the service. Thank you, everyone.